Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. I really appreciate you sitting by, waiting patiently to get to know what we have in store for you on the discussion segment. Well, that was Viewpoint by Karen Okonji talking about the $800 million loan request. Is going to be part of our discussion on this particular segment. Well, countdown to hand over. Yes, matters arising, events unfolding, what Nigerians are yearning for, what Nigerians are perceiving, what Nigerians are seeing. At first, with the case of 22 years, a trillion, then all of a sudden, $800 million. That is, on one hand, you get to hear about appointments, yes, being given out. You get to hear about contracts being awarded by this same administration that just barely 9 days or thereabout ago. When you come to the governor's side, you get to hear about billions quickly signed to the House for approval. Within how many days to the expiration of tenure? What is really going on? What about the insecurity ravaging some parts of the country? Some are saying right now, for what is happening, that our beloved President Muhammadu Buhari wants to work till the last day of his administration. That's the reason why we're experiencing this. That's the reason why we see all these loan days, appointment days, borrowing days, contract days. You just limit. What do you feel about it? My analysts will throw more light on this. With me here in the studio, I have the legal practitioner, political analyst, political affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Justin Owe. Welcome to TMI on this edition. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so very close to him, he is an elder statesman, political analyst, political affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Odigie Wabiai. Welcome to TMI Sunday's edition. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I whip for Nigeria.
Wow. Anyway, I believe that the income administration will surely wipe the tears away. All right, but some are smiling though. Some are smiling.
Yeah.
Now, let me start off with you, Barrister Justin. What do you feel about this? People like saying that it's supposed to be a situation whereby Mr. President and his team will be, smoothing the papers, dusting the papers, trying to give proper records of the tenure rather than awarding more contracts, giving out appointments, requesting for loan. We have barely a week plus to handing over. How come this activity in government that is making so many Nigerians have a kind of so many doubts about the end of this administration? Barrister.
Well, Mr. Wese, thank you. It's unfortunate, very unfortunate that we are in this dire situation. Nigeria is a country, and we have a president until May 29th, the exit date of this administration. The president still functions as the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria. So having said that, it means he has the capacity to appoint, to borrow, to give out contracts, and whatever he knows best to do for the good and well-being of Nigeria and Nigerians is expected to do it to the last day. You won't say because he's handing over, government should or governors should be at a standstill. No, but the only point I will quarrel with is that some persons that he appointed, they are not appointed on competence, so to say. Like one of them, Suleiman Abba, with due respect to him, a retired Inspector General of Police. We knew what transpired in 2015 before the coming of this administration. Surprisingly, some few days ago, he was given an appointment as to head the other police trust funds, something like that.
But to him, he's competent enough to another position.
Fine, but this is a man that was sacked. He was fired by the then president of Nigeria, Dr. Ebele Goodluck Jonathan. He fired him. So he carried that stick permit me to use the word, that stigma of a sacked officer from office. And there were reasons where he was sacked. So why are you now rewarding somebody who was fired from office by his boss?
But he has the right to hire and fire.
Now, let me draw a simple analogy. This is an establishment. If anybody comes to this place saying, oh, he has worked with another media organization, but I was sacked, I'm sure your head of human resources will take care. That may be the end of that employment program or process. Whether you were sacked for good or you were sacked, as far as you say you have been sacked. And we all know why he was sacked. He was pledging allegiance to the then president-elect, Muhammad Buhari, when there was a sitting president. A house that is divided against itself cannot stand. You cannot. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can go in my local dialect. I view way.
Could you please interpret?
Yes, you cannot be first and be last. You cannot be first and second. You must either be this or this. The Bible condemns it. You cannot be in law. You cannot speak from two sides of your mouth. You say you cannot approbate and reprobate. You understand? So that is why he was, and he's not giving an appointment, a juicy appointment at that. It's like rewarding. You understand what I'm saying? Those are some of the. I don't want to go down the history. There's also some of them that, one of them that is fond of castigating Nigerians abroad. It doesn't, before he takes her, he must fire them first. You can see what happened during this Sudan crisis. You know the person I'm talking about. I also mentioned the name. He was rewarded, reappointed again. These are not the kind of persons you should be giving this up. I'm not against you appointing, as you have it's your discretion to do. But there must be laid down principles. If I give you a job you didn't pay for, why reward you? Why bring you back? You were sacked, you were fired. Why bring you back? Okay. Then coming to the loan. My God.
We'll come to that. Let's focus on the appointment first. Let's focus on that. Because while I was introducing you, you use a phrase that, when I say close one, that you wait for Nigeria. And I said, not to worry. Maybe, just maybe, you are weeping. Some are there also smiling and laughing. That, look, this is the best administration so far. Now, let's take a look at the appointment. Barely a week to go. What did you feel about it?
Yeah, definitely, I'm weeping. And those that are benefiting from the appointment, they are smiling. Let me give you an example. Assuming as a father, and I'm dying, I have a business. I'll go to the bank, obtain loan, come to my domestic staff, hire more workers, double them, if possible, triple them. Take loan to build a swimming pool that I may not need. Take a loan to refurbish my kitchen. Take loan for any white elephant projects, knowing fully well that my children will inherit the assets and the liabilities. Then upon my demise, when my children comes on board, do you think they will be happy? Absolutely not. Because I've overbloated their overhead cost. Nigeria belongs to us, every one of us. Where an individual now think that he owns Nigeria, why would a sitting president take a loan of 800 million? Okay, why would, okay, good. Why would, knowing fully well that you have less than a week or 2 weeks or even 6 months to the expiration of your government, you are appointing personnel what you ought to be doing as of moment is the Auditor General auditing the books so that they can hand over to the incoming government. But what we now see is appointment spree, trying to compensate those he feel assisted him. That's what he did with, is it Burata, who was the former chief of army staff? He made him an ambassador. Now he has appointed others. Why can't you just wait and let the incoming government do that? Why are you in a rush? The country belongs to everybody, not yours. At the end of the day, probably he's going to appoint as many as increasing the overhead cost. And Nigeria has no money. Now, the National Assembly, they have approved about 30.2 billion as allowances for the senators, the House of Reps, and their aides. Where do they expect to get that money from? Are they going to print or to borrow? The ministers are getting, their severance allowances. The president is getting. The governors are getting. What kind of a country are we operating? I'll tell you one thing, my brother. We are looking at other countries. Have we asked ourselves what they went through to get to this present stage that they are? The problem is not with the president. The problem is not with the governors. The problem is not with the council chairman or the senators. The problem is with us. We allow them. What did they do in other countries? I'm not advocating it for Nigeria. You've heard about the American Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the French Revolution, the Cuban Revolution, and all revolutions across the globe except Africa. We get away with murder here. A country where there's no institution, a country where individualism supersedes that of institutionalism. That is what we have here. It will not work. Now, what they did in other countries, they have 5 options. When they see that you are becoming too powerful, that you are taking the country for a ride, they stage a coup and get rid of you. If they cannot do that, they assassinate you. If they cannot do that, mass revolution, uprising. So if you are thinking that you will use the constitutional process to change the system in Nigeria or in the third world nation, it will never work.
All right, we'll come back to you on that. But I like your first comment. You said you're not recommending it for Nigeria, giving an example of other climes. Now,
good.
As a president, he has the right to hire and fire. After all, you rightly said, you said, look, he is still in charge until May 29. So what is wrong in hiring? Because focusing on hiring before going to the loan, which you are so eager to delve into, when people are talking about is, come on, what is going on? Some are saying that after all, it's not wrong if you choose to, let me borrow a word from his dictionary, settle these persons that aided his government. After all, it's not so wrong if you choose to forgive the past sins of some of these persons by calling them back into his administration just for these 8-9 days, something of that nature. What do you feel about this?
Well, Mr. Wilson, Nigeria is a very funny country. What we say here, we're looking at the lives and destiny of Nigeria and Nigerians. We are talking of loan. I think before the last election, Nigeria external debt, if I'm not mistaken, stood at about over 70 trillion. Over 70 trillion naira. And when you look at, I'm not against you borrowing, but if you borrow, there must be a significant use of that money borrowed for something that will generate money that you can use to repay the loan you borrowed. Like my brother rightly says, you borrow for consumption. I don't want to use the word.
So, Barrister Justin, is that what you're saying we are doing right now?
No, what we are doing right now, they borrow, fine, but there is nothing on ground to show what that money borrowed, what that money is used for or spent for. Look at Benin-Auchi Road. Have you tried to travel that road? Look at Benin-Sapele. Have you tried to travel that road? Then look at Benin-Agbo Road. Have you tried to use that road? Benin to Warri used to be a maximum of 1 hour. But I tell you, if you try it now, you know, your body will tell you. You understand what I'm saying? So if you are borrowing, you must use the money productively. Like Peter Obi said, my principal would say, he wants to change Nigeria from consumption country to production country. But rather, our people borrow for consumption. Look at the bogus allowances they are being paid. And yet, this is the country that is the headquarters of poverty. Governments, their entourage is getting bigger. Their entourage is not trimmed. Their PAs and SAs and all those stuff is not trimmed. Their Esther code, all of them, foreign trips, even to the Esther, our president just came back from UK that he went to treat his teeth. Don't we have dentists here? Well, don't we have them? Go to University of Benin Teaching Hospital, go to University or even Benin University. You'll find them there. Okay, these things, the presidential jet he used, where he's parked, he's going to pay. Or you better not they look your face. He's going to pay. And you are going to pay in foreign currency. Even the Aso Rock clinic, what's wrong with it? Why don't you standardize it? So that you can attain that. Kudos to Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the vice president, who had some issue with his leg some time ago. He visited our hospital, but Buhari never did. President Muhammad Buhari never did.
But still, as you're not delved into health still on the loan issue. Talked about the hospital.
That is what.
Don't forget that Madam President, okay, talking about the wife of the president, talked about 21 billion naira presidential hospital that been built. He said that will prevent incoming president to travel out rather they can invite doctors because they don't have the equipment and all that.
Good.
Don't forget she complained about the hospital before that
the
measures were taken.
My dear brother.
21 billion.
My dear brother.
Yes.
Nigeria, if you go look book, Nigeria is like America. We are talking of what is on ground. What is on ground? You and I know that that thing is not true. It's not, okay, why did the president travel? He just came back now, less than a week ago now. Less than a week. So my quarrel with borrowing is that how do you use your money borrowed? What did you spend it for? Money you borrowed is not divided, is not looted. We never had it this bad.
All right. Now let's take a look at some of the activities marking the end of this administration. Don't forget about the renovation of the National Assembly that got billions
over
of
$30
naira.
billion.
Naira, and it's still going on now. Plus the hospital also. And don't forget also, like what you rightly said, talk about bad roads. Hence, they are still dishing out and awarded contracts, all from this money borrowed. I don't think borrowing this money is justified, even if they have less than 9 or 8 days to go.
Right.
The activity is going on right now.
Yeah. From what we know about a typical Nigerian government, the idea of borrowing is a sham. I was surprised hearing Aisha Buhari becoming the people's advocate by saying the National Health Center at Abuja is well equipped and to prevent medical voyage. And that is typical of anybody in government. President, the governors, all the governors, they have built state-of-the-art medical facilities in all their various states and local governments that can compete with hospitals in abroad. Anytime they are launching it, that is what they said. We are building flyovers that can compete with any flyover in the world. It's always like that. But mind you, the Aisha Buhari, who is now advocating for the president to utilize the local hospitals, the husband never went there.
Yes.
She also, I'm coming. Good.
From what she said,
Now, then she has no right of whatsoever. She has no right. She's not in a better position to advise Nigerians or to advise the incoming president. She never utilized any of them. But she went to Dubai to treat herself.
That was before
I'm coming.
she went to Dubai.
So
after she went to
what
Dubai.
we are saying is that you are like, I mean, like a Pharisee. I'm not a Christian. Do what I say, but don't do what I do. Now, such a person is not in a better position. So,
She said
what I'm
this
hold
is the
on.
reason why they equipped the hospital.
Good. Now, let us see if any of them will attend that hospital. They said 21 billion. That 21 billion can build 3 standard hospitals in America. And if you go to that hospital, there's no syringe with the 21 billion.
That was after.
I'm talking of now. I'm talking of today, right now.
Hold on.
I'm coming. Listen, you are taking my time. You are taking my time.
We have enough time today. Just hold on, because right now you are addressing millions of people that are watching. The reason why she chose to tell Nigerians what is happening, she was the one that raised the alarm that then there are no syringes at the hospital.
Good.
But right now, everything is in order because of that amount of money.
Good.
To make the hospital standard.
Before now,
you don't need to travel out.
We say go and look at the national budget. Every year they always earmark minimum 2.3 billion to that national hospital. Every year for the past 8 years. For the past 1999. What happened to the money? They could not buy syringe, no doctors, no hospital beds. Now from 2.something billion to 21 billion. What now impetus them to change their heart to now equip the hospital? Probably realizing that going from Nigeria to Paris or to London for a dental care, it doesn't make sense, because for the aircraft it is 5,000 pounds to pack for demerit for per day. So the number of days times 5,000 pounds is what is costing the taxpayer anytime Buhari fly out of the country. And Buhari flew out of the country 250, stayed out of the country 250 days. Multiplied by 5,000 pounds. That's about 1.something billion. 1.8 billion.
The reason
so now I'm coming. I'm not finished.
She gave a reason.
Good. She's not in a better position to tell us. Regardless of whatever. Because she was a beneficiary.
In a better position.
I am.
Have you been there?
I don't need to be there. I don't need to be there. They are using my money. They are using my money to jet out of the country. They are using my money to build or to equip the National Health, the National Health Center. All these things. If you audit that investment right now, I will guarantee you that that national hospital is not as equipped as an ambulance in London.
Hold on, I'm not this way.
So what I'm trying to say, I'm coming. Let me finish. I have been to the national hospital. I have seen an ambulance in London. I have seen an ambulance in New York. I know how equipped they are.
Okay, hold on now. I'll come back to you. You cannot make such an...
You have not been there. I'm telling you what I've experienced.
You cannot compare a world-class hospital to an ambulance.
To ambulance in New York.
Ambulance is an ambulance, so please, let's
it is well equipped.
Let's not...
Anything that you need is in there.
Public, I'll come back to you.
Good.
What's your emotions, please?
No, it's not my emotion.
Now, see, talking about activities marking the end of the tenure, now let's talk about the loan, of course, contracts awarded. These contracts awarded, Nigerians are saying that, look, it's a right step in the right direction because it will benefit Nigerians. What have you say about that?
Good.
Well, looking at it from the surface, that's what it's supposed or ought to be. But you and I know that there is more to it than meets the eye. Contract in Nigeria is like porridge or beans. You see the surface looks quiet and gentle. Underneath is volcanic hot, like volcano that comes out from the ground in some countries. It's hot. So when you see, just put your hand alive. Nigeria contract is, the more you look, the less you see. It's just settlement for the boys.
Who are the boys in quotes?
People who are in government, they are associates and others. These are the person, they give them this contract. If you go and look at that terms of that contract, you see that when the contract is awarded, a certain amount is quoted. But go and ask that contractor on the field how much is given to him. You will find out that more than 60% of that money is gone, if at all, even get. That is why, look at Benin Auchi Road. That road has been awarded, not even this dispensation. Look at Sapler Road that people have been clamoring for. Go and check it. Look at the failing Benin Lagos Road now. When you go on paper, these things have been awarded. To who? To their cronies. And when they come in and you hear billions of dollars, billions of naira, millions, hundreds of millions of so-so, fantastic. Ordinarily, it should impact the people, the society. The work is done, job is created, people living around there or in the city or in the community, they use it. Good, but it is not like that. Like you just mentioned, ambulance in the UK and ambulance in the United States of America. With all sense of humility, when you get to Frisco in the US, in Texas, I said, last time, this is not the year. A hospital was built, equipped, within 6 months. 6 months, raised from the ground to completion. 6 months, equipped with staff, functioning. 6 months, half a year. In a community, just like we say, ward or local government. That's just one, minus the others. So when you see these things, our people travel every now and then. Is it the same road you see that they step on? If you want me to be more specific, I can also mention one of the governors was good in New York. You saw the roads around there. You see it on something on television. Is it the same road they do for us? We now have disposable roads. These are some of the things. Road without drainage, road without pavements, road without street lights. Is that the kind of road you don't see? It saddens my heart that we are so red, but we have left the basics behind. What are we looking for in Nigeria? What is an average Nigerian asking you? Maybe road, school, hospital. Are these things available? No. I was in a central hospital, then specialist hospital. I was in this ward, orthopedic ward. I spent about 4 weeks plus there in 1988. In 1988, Dr. Oriafo was my doctor. I don't know if I can mention names, so that I want to be
specific.
Yes, Dr. Oriafo was my doctor. Then they shared that ward, orthopedic main ward,
That was in 1988.
Yes.
Okay.
They shared that word. Dr. Oriafo was on this side, Dr. Lawal patient was on the other side. The standard of care I got there, as at 1988, I doubt if you can get it now at Central Hospital. Recently, a friend's mother died because the nurse or the medical practitioner that was attending do not know that the hospital cannot carry the woman through the night. Hospital finished at night, the woman died before daybreak. They now started blaming the son that was telling to say, why you don't come tell doctor, tell us? Are you a doctor or a nurse to know when hospital will get arrested?
Right.
These are things you don't hear or see in civilized time. Otherwise, you pay heavily for it. Okay, that won't happen now. What? Nobody will be queried. Nobody will be sanctioned. Nothing happens.
But
it continues like that.
Don't you think that's the reason why they are borrowing this money to put things in place?
My dear, it's like, let me go further.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me.
Mind you,
hold
you
on.
are too in the place. I want to like you don't get it. Just hold on. I will come back to you.
Right.
I will come back to you. Calm down. Calm down.
Because mention the name of the hospital, I will make sure it happened here in Nigeria, here in Benin.
Okay, hold on now. We were taking a look at the activities right now, though we are getting into so many other activities connected to what is happening right now. About the loan issue.
Yeah.
Somebody saying, look, it is not the fault of the president that he really wants to go for this loan. It's because it is needed right now.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we have just barely a week plus to go. That they have some unfinished business
Exactly.
that must be finished so that Mr. President can hand over in flying colors. I mean, is that not something that one should jubilate over?
That's fantastic, yeah. One thing I know, there's nothing wrong with borrowing. The most advanced economies in the world, they borrow. America lives on borrowed debt, externally and internally. And we're also operating on that same part. But unfortunately for us, we borrow to execute white elephant projects.
White elephant projects.
We borrow, we borrow and we print to pay salaries. We borrow and we print money for over and bare parties. We borrow and we print money for unnecessary projects. And at the end of the day, the money is being stranded in obscurity. For the past 7 years, this government, they have borrowed money. Have we felt the impact? Absolutely not. How long are we going to continue to allow this clique take off for granted? Borrow to do what? To share? At the end of the day, they've told us that they are going to share 5,000 to the poor people. And the number, the figure that they came out was about 10 million. What yardstick did they use to determine who gets the 5 million, the 5,000? Why will you borrow money? Is it a grant? Borrow money to give out to people. Teach me how to fish. Don't give me fish to eat. Create the enabling environment. Job acquisitions. Engage them. When you borrow, what do you do with it? They said during the COVID, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs told the whole world, that was the day I cried, that they fed all the students for that 2 years. That there is hardly any household that they did not give. I said, what? Where? How? When? What happened to the money? Then the COVID, palliatives, governors were holding them. By coincidence, we found out what happened. Now you want to borrow and give that money to these same people that will be exiting in the next 1 week or 2 weeks or 6 months. A responsible government, 6 months to your exit, don't go into any capital project. 6 months, not even days. Because you have almost 8 years or 7 years for you to do XYZ. Is it at the 11th hour you want to rush? Or probably they saw a vision that God now asked them, so this is the time you can quickly solve the problem of Nigeria. See, the problem I have, like I keep on saying, is us. We allow them to get away with murder. If, unfortunately, we have what I call educated illiterates in Nigeria. You see this also, I'm Professor V.C. Wixon, Architect Wixon, Dr. Wixon. You are just a bloody Mr. Wixon, not architect. They need that prefix before. All they care about is I'm this, I'm that, and they have nothing up here. So the educated illiterates that we have, they allowed those in government to get away with murder. The $800 million that they borrowed now, what are they going to do with it? To construct roads? Which road? Do you know the number of times they earmarked money for the second Niger bridge?
Which will be commissioned soon.
Which will be commissioned soon.
Yeah.
That bridge got a lot of money. The East-West Road, do you know how much they have earmarked money during election? The Benin Okene Road, right from Tony and Nene till date, do you know how much they have earmarked? Paid. Nothing happened.
All right.
See, Nigeria, the reason why we are doing this is that there's no rule of law and there's no institution. What we have is individual.
I'll come back to you on that. Having individuals, no rule of law. Can one deduce that this borrowing spree at this point in time is definitely uncalled for?
Yes, I will agree with you. Hook, line, or sinker. It's totally uncalled for. Nigeria have enough to take care of ourselves and even give out if we want to. But the managers of our resources just believe that oil alone will solve it. When oil is not building enough, we see them, they start crying, oil price has dropped, not enough money, we budgeted $70, it's now $20, all those. If we have a competent and a sound manager at the helm of affairs, person like Gregory Peter Obi.
Well, we're not here to blow anyone's trumpet because the case is in court.
No.
And we want us to bring in someone that whose case is in court. Let's focus on this issue.
Yes, we are going somewhere.
Without sentiments, please.
No sentiment. We are looking at
because you bring in a particular name.
No.
You
see, in law, we look at precedent. It is based on precedent that you decide a matter. So when it is the same, a matter is in pari material with a similar matter on ground, you cite it.
But since it's in court, let's just leave the matter base.
We're talking of the court matter. I'm not talking of the court matter.
Because it's like you're campaigning.
No. I'm not talking of the court matter at all. I'm not going there. That's sub judice. I can't go there. I won't go there. No matter the odds, I won't go there. I'm talking of the person Mr. Peter Obi.
No, let's leave the person out of this discussion for now, please. Now, for some reasons.
Okay. When he was in Anambra State, schools were built, 30,000 laptops were bought. Even Benmori Brooks, Anambra was shipping vegetable to Europe and we were making an average of $2 million. He left money in the savings of the government. They moved from 26 or so from education to number 1. It has track record. Now we say we are borrowing. Look at the ministers. Look at the cars they use. Look at the minister for states. Look at the cars they use. They are not made by NOC. They are exotic cars. Many of them are bulletproofs, which cost hundreds of millions to buy. That is one. Then you look at the aids. These cost money. Have we trimmed down the size of our government? We are borrowing. It's like a father in the house. He doesn't have enough to take care of himself. He's borrowing. Yet, he's having he's marrying more wives. Let me say so. That is the exact position of me. If we go into agriculture, now we go to agriculture. When this government came into being, you saw agriculture. People started buying cutlass, market for cutlass, hoes and those moved. People were going into farming. But guess what? It didn't last long. Why? Because no enabling environment. Insecurity. Insecurity. Still on to it's even worse. Go to Abu Mere here now. Odi and others. Your television station reported a lot. How farmland, somebody's investment, is being used to feed somebody else's investment. Is it dumb? If you ranch your cattle or your animals, and at the end of the day, the grass you want to use to feed them, that will be another business for somebody to go into. If you cannot produce it by yourself, somebody else will produce, just like poultry. Somebody else is in charge of the drugs. Somebody else is in charge of the feeds. That is their own business. So that is how it works. Somebody else will be in charge of those grasses or feed for your cattle. And you know what that will be? Somebody, they grow grass, they sell grass, they make money. Is that not going to be engagement? Do you even know that this dung, this cow waste, let me use the word so that people know, they call it shit. Sorry, I use.
No, please, don't watch the word. Just cow dung or feces. Yes.
Okay, cow dung. I just trying to.
Break it down.
Yes. Okay, cow dung. Do you know that you can also generate power from it? Let's leave it. Let me not talk of the manure.
So, from all you're saying right now, we don't have anything to borrow.
We don't. If we manage our resources well and diversify our economy.
All right.
You understand?
All right.
If we diversify, economy. What is Russia living on today?
Okay.
Even at war. What is Ukraine living on today?
All right.
Even at war.
I will come back to you. Now,
I was coming this morning. I just strode through Ida College fence. I saw somebody planting cassava and maize there, and it's growing.
All right.
We have the plan.
Activities marking the end of this administration within weeks to hand over a lot of activities, just like bam. I've just been talking about it. What is happening is like we have more activities now than when we really started. Just barely a week plus, so much activities. And people are like worried that the incoming administration may find it difficult to start on this pedestal because of the excess borrowing being done at the twilight, so to speak, of this administration. What's your take on that, Honorable?
Well, they have what they call the transition committee. It is the same political party, and the transition committee has been instituted for over a month plus. So they are already part of the government, and they get their daily briefings. So as this borrowing is going on, invariably they are also aware of it. So probably their accountants or their financial analysts, they must have assured them that it's something that they're going to cope with. If we were to be an opposition political party, then you'll be hearing different things on the print media or the electronic media that they are holding some information, blah, blah, blah. So invariably, they are all in the know of the goings on. So how they will cope, I don't know. But they are digging a big hole for the incoming government to begin with. And there's every tendency that this incoming government is going to utilize some of those in the present government. So it will not be a new thing to them. And the terrain is already known to the members. We're going to be going back and forth. And unfortunately or fortunately, the president-elect is not around, and he has not aired his own personal opinion, so that we can now gauge and know the exact situation of things. So he has been silent. The government is not silent. The government is borrowing. The incoming government, they are not talking. So they are all working, hand in gloves. They both understand where they are coming from and where they are going. So you as an outsider, including myself, we can only assess from the peripheral point of view that as an economist, is it advisable for them to borrow? And on what basics are they borrowing? Then what do they want to utilize the money for? If they are told Nigerians that we want to borrow to use the money for SY project, let us assess that project and see how feasible that project is. The railroad, say for example, that we constructed in Nigeria was also done in Ethiopia by the same company, CC, this Chinese construction company. The money that they use in Ethiopia is far less than the money they expended in Nigeria.
And they got a longer one.
You understand? And they had a longer railroad. The kilometers. Then, is it because of the terrain? We don't know. Or is it because of the padding? We don't know. This is Nigeria for you.
All right.
Now, I keep on saying, you see, my brother, the government, the people can make the government to stop any action. If we hear you and I, that's why I said the educated lead the tricks. If you and I protest and say, look, you cannot borrow money. We are tired and sick of it. You have 80 days to go. You have 6 months to go. You have no reason of whatsoever, irrespective of your position. We want you to wait. You cannot appoint. That is why when Tinubu comes in now, or the president-elect, he's going to reassess those appointments. It has happened in all the states. There was one state, they had over 2,000 staff. The incoming government came and dissolved it. All states, even Edo State. Now that is what the president is doing. The Nigeria is not a personal asset.
Oh.
It belongs to us.
Ross, thank you so much. Well, We want to take a break. The spoken at length activity is marking the end of this administration countdown to the inauguration. Barely 8 days to go. From your calculation, my calculation, barely just 8 days to go, approximately 8 days to go. We have another administration, but the borrowing spree, and of course, the appointment spree also, according to some clients, that appointment this, appointment that, project this, project what is really good. Is all this, or all this called for? Or is it going to be a situation of Osun State where a delicate one that once it takes over the hand of affairs is going to nullify our appointments made by Oyetola?
Yeah.
Because that appointment was made a week or two to handing over, so to speak.